They're here, their evolution, get used to it. This is Nature Girl 30 here, guys, and I'm doing a raw review for the 14th of April. Y'all, and I just did an audio with Dustin, keep calling Brian, with Dustin, Brandon, and Shalithia, aka Tama Girl, aka Magmaster, uh, 2012, and Dreamboy 899. We had a large discussion about this. It's going to be put up soon. I'm editing it now. It's going to probably take a while, maybe a few days, and I'll try to get it up. But y'all, let's be on the real here. Raw tonight, I mean, it's been a very devastating week for wrestling fans. It really has. It's been very tough for wrestling fans to accept a lot of changes, dramatic changes at that has happened in our wrestling world, especially the death of the Ultimate Warrior. I will say this, the opener was quite touching and quite honorable. I really love that, especially as a fan of the Ultimate Warrior, being able to see his triumphs and not worry and not focus so much on him passing, even though it happened. And unfortunately, that's a part of life, but it's really sad, especially if you've grown up watching him as a child. Me personally, I remember some of the matches and some of the promos that he had as a child growing up during the golden era. And it was very special for me to see him run down that ramp like old school back in the day in 1988. I didn't have a chance. That was before I actually started watching pay-per-views, but I saw some of the shows after pay-per-views happened, and I saw him running down the ramp. Some of the highlights, him running down the ramp, his epic promos, eccentric at best, but I loved every bit of him as a child. And that was one of my special moments that I always will remember and cherish for the Ultimate Warrior that he has given me as a fan. But the one thing I loved is the fact that they had everybody come and pay tribute to him, and they had a moment of silence, and they rang the bell 4 times. I think that was very honorable for them. It was nice to actually see Vince McMahon there, but it's kind of interesting how the man looked pretty young, which lets me know he probably had some Botox. But besides all that, it was nice to see Vince McMahon out there. It was nice to see everybody else out there. It was a really wonderful moment for me as a fan. I bet it was really touching for the family. And then you had to go, the story goes on, like the show has to go on, and I understand that. And I'm kind of happy that they're actually having an Ultimate Warrior week on the WWE network, for people to be able to see the highlights of his matches, and also the fact you see his documentary that they're going to have about him on WWE Network, which I think is a really great thing, and I appreciate it as a fan. But another thing that really makes me happy the most is seeing how they're actually doing something with the IC belt. They actually had the IC belt number one contendership tournament. I haven't seen a tournament done in a very long time for the IC belt, and it was nice to actually see that. It really makes me feel that they're trying to do something with the IC belt to give the mid carders something to do, and let alone give them something to strive for. You had a lot of great faces out there. Of course, you would have Antonio Cesaro. Of course, you would have Jack Swagger out there. I'm happy to see Bad News Barrett finally getting the push that he's so rightly deserved. And I really am interested to see Sheamus. Sure, we've seen Sheamus versus Barrett many, many times, but the fact is, this is for the IC belt, number one contendership. It's for something. It's not just a random match. This is a random match with meaning, which means it's going to be extra brutal, which means it's going to be a lot more intense because it's something to strive for. And even though I cannot remember for the life of me whether or not Sheamus actually won the IC belt, and if he did, leave a comment in the comment section below. But I know that Bad News Barrett actually did win the IC belt, and that was the only title he ever had. But honestly, it would be nice just to see some gold around his waist. So I wouldn't mind him winning again. And honestly, he represents the IC belt a lot better than Sheamus, in my opinion. Even though they're from the same country, sorta. But even though he's from Ireland and he's from the UK, either or, I really feel that Bad News Barrett would represent it better because he's a really great heel. Sheamus would represent it better if he's, I mean, since he's a face, but he has to have a good heel to actually promote him more. I don't really, I mean, I'm not saying Sheamus will be bad, but it'll be a downgrade for him. I mean, he was a WWE champion as well as a world heavyweight champion. It's kind of a downgrade for him. But for Bad News Barrett, unfortunately, it's a belt that he's stuck with, but I think that he would represent it well. But the one thing that I really felt was kind of a waste of time was the ending. And the entire time, it was like back and forth. Like, it kind of felt short. Like, this Raw really did feel pretty short. But honestly, it was great how they focused a little bit on it was pretty much about the Ultimate Warrior. And then they went back to, the match and trying to start things up. But it was also really nice to actually see Paige out there and Paige fighting against Alicia Fox. It was kind of nice to actually see Paige out there fighting as a Divas champion for the first time ever. I really was kind of sad not to see AJ Lee out there coming out for her to have something to say. Maybe something happened to where she wasn't going to be there. I have no idea. But the fact that she wasn't there, it just kind of took some things away from me. And I'm hoping that they don't change Paige's character. I loved her as an anti-diva. That's why I loved her so much when I saw her in NXT. She was different from the other girls. This chick could fight. She could scrap with the best of them. And it shows when she had her feud against Emma. But I'm hoping they don't downgrade her like they downgrade most of the chicks that actually comes from NXT to Raw. And I'm really hoping they keep her character intact and not try to make her a face. That's just me personally. But as for Alicia Fox, it's really difficult to take her seriously now. She's had far too many losses, not even enough pushes. I really do smell that she's gonna not smell, but I really do see she's gonna probably be in the graveyard soon. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong because she was the first African American Divas champion. So I really hope it doesn't really go sour for her. But besides all that, we end up having an intergender match as well as another Divas match, and our intergender match was as usual with Santino Marella and Emma versus a new dance girl. We had Layla. Maybe I missed SmackDown. I didn't really watch SmackDown, but seeing Layla out there felt awkward to me. She's great at choreography, but she's not as graceful as Summer Rae. And I really feel like that even though Layla is a very beautiful woman, I don't think she represents Fandango's character a lot well at all. But it'll be nice to actually see a few pretty much blooming maybe in the near future between her and Layla, since Layla is now the new girl the new girl for Summer Rae. That replaced Summer Rae. So I would love to actually see a few between those two. But honestly, I didn't really care much for this match. I don't really care much for any kind of mixed tag match anymore because it's the same old shtick. They have chicks out there to be the girlfriends for the guys, and it's not really anything relevant. So I really didn't care much for it. But as usual, you had the heels win. Well, not really as usual, but it was actually nice to see the heels win. But I did not like Layla's little train thing at all. I mean, she looked like a freaking flamingo dancer. But it just didn't seem like proper wrestling attire. But besides all that, the biggest confusion that I actually had was seeing Kane going back to being old Kane. Why? You're corporate Kane, dude. You gotta earn that mask. You can't just go back and put the mask on and have people take you seriously after you were all like prim and proper in business life for almost 4 months, probably longer than that. Honestly, it's been the Daniel Bryan saga started about 9 months ago. So honestly, it's been 9 months since we've seen Kane without his mask. And seeing him as corporate Kane is something I just can't take seriously anymore. I'm sorry. You can't go back to being Kane. They need to build up him going back to being Kane, not because Stephanie told him to. He needs to go back being Kane because something caused him to go back to be Kane, not because he's told by the authority. That's what makes it really hard to take Kane seriously now. Seriously. I don't know how they're going to make this work when Daniel Bryan comes back from his honeymoon. And congratulations to Daniel Bryan for being married and pretty much for getting the WWE World Heavyweight Championship as well as being married to Brie Bella. Kudos to him. He's had a really great week. And I'm actually going to check out his documentary on the WWE Network probably a little bit later. But let's move on to the main event of the night. Honestly, the tag team tournament went great. Some of the things in between were kind of like questionable for me. But the one thing that gave me the really biggest amount of confusion in my brain and my noggin is why in the ever loving world is Evolution coming back? Like, seriously, is Daniel Bryan's story so interesting to the point where you guys can't even be that creative to come up with something different? Like, seriously, that's the one thing that I could not understand. Why in the world would you bring Evolution back? Seriously, why would you bother bringing him back after everything? I mean, seriously, Daniel Bryan's storyline was great at best. The build was epic. The build was really done very well. And now that he's won the belt and he's no longer there because he's on a honeymoon, I understand that. But you guys aren't that creative enough to come up with something new, something different, something fresh, and you bring back the old again? Come on, Evolution really doesn't have a purpose to be Evolution anymore. And besides, you're missing one prime member, the Nature Boy. You can't be Evolution without the Nature Boy, people. Come on now. But the fact that Evolution came back was ridiculous to me, and it didn't seem like a really good ending. And now I guess they're going against the Shield since Daniel Bryan is gone, and maybe the Shield are becoming faces. I don't know. But honestly, guys, my overall thoughts is this. I love the tag team tournament. I love the tribute that they did to the Ultimate Warrior. Some of the matches made no sense. I love that actually seeing Paige come out there for the first time as a Divas champion after last Raw, but the ending was confusing and stupid. But honestly, guys, I want to hear your personal thoughts about this Raw. Leave a comment in the comment section below or send me a video response of how you feel about this Raw and what you plan on doing about it if you had the chance to change the card around, or the entire show for that matter. And I would try to get my audio up as soon as I possibly can. Right now I'm in a position of editing, but you will hear about it and probably see it soon. It's Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out.